The Pistons win their second straight game, beating the Toronto Raptors tonight. They have now won 3 of their past 4. We're going to talk about tonight's game, as well as a few other topics in just a moment.
Lane, skies a jam. Dynamite dunk and the crowd loves it.
Welcome back to Pistons Intellect. I'm your host, Jack Kelly. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_Kelly_3on3. And if you're feeling so kind, please hit that subscribe button and please support the channel and the Pistons Intellect brand in any way possible. Now, as I said off the top, the Pistons tonight defeat the Toronto Raptors 113-104. It is now their second victory in a row following their win against Charlotte 2 days ago, and their third in their last 4 games. Once again, I just off the top want to preface before I get into talking about all this and talking about the players and the good things and some of the bad stuff from tonight's game. This Toronto Raptors team, like the Charlotte Hornets, pretty decimated by injuries. They're missing Scotty Barnes. They're missing RJ Barrett. They're missing Gary Trent Jr. They're missing Jakob Poeltl. All 4 of those guys are starters. Or Gary Trent Jr. comes off the bench maybe, but he started for the Raptors in the past. So they're missing a lot of talent. So the Pistons, once again, were without Asar Thompson in this one. And that's really it, to be honest. So Pistons are pretty healthy. Nonetheless, though, a win's a win, but I just want to clarify that off the top. I'm well aware that these past 2 wins aren't against the strongest competition, but I think they're important wins nonetheless, even just for the fact that it allows the Pistons, with this new roster, which went through a fair bit of turnover across the trade deadline, to mesh and gel and build chemistry. And I think that is valuable. No matter who you're playing, I think to get the win, get the vibes high, keep the vibes high, keep kind of the negativity away from this team. I know we had that Tree Weaver thing with the fan in the stands the other day, which kind of brought back some of that yucky negativity that the Pistons have faced for a lot of the season from a national point of view. So they get the win tonight, and I think where I'm going to start with this is, excuse me, Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren in the first quarter had 10 points and 8 rebounds. He finishes the game with 24 points, 23 boards, 5 assists, 1 steal, 8 of 9 field goals, 8 of 10 from the free throw line. All of that in 28 minutes. And he took full advantage of the Raptors' big men. They started Kelly Olynyk at the 5, who we all know KO. He's a stretch 5, very skilled 5, but not a guy that's going to rebound very well, especially when he's playing all his minutes at the 5. So, JD took advantage of that, and honestly, in the first half, was an absolute beast. Well, the first quarter, definitely. He pretty much had a double-double early in the second quarter, and they couldn't contain him. Like some of the offensive rebounds he got, he went above 4 Raptors to grab it. Their backup, big they're playing, I think it was Jonte Porter, brother of Michael Porter Jr. from the Nuggets. Seemed like a bit of a skilled kind of 4-5 guy. He finishes with 10 points, 6 boards, 6 assists, 4 blocks himself, but he's quite ground bound, isn't the most athletic big, more of a skilled guy. More like not Kelly Olynyk, but more in that mold of big man than someone of JD's stature. So, look, Olynyk and Porter did some damage, and when the Raptors were up in that second quarter by like 16 points, those 2 guys and Emmanuel Quickley and Bruce Brown, that they were doing damage, and it was a weird one for JD because he was really dominant, but he had the 5 turnovers tonight, and yeah, like that's something always to monitor when you see the assists with JD, is like how many turnovers is he getting, and it's not something for this season at least I'm going to go crazy at, but he had the 5 turnovers tonight, so those assists are coming at quite a cost. But if there's a season to work on this stuff, it is this season, because there is nothing to play for in the sense of playoffs, play-in, standing stuff. So Excellent game, though, from JD for the most part. Like most of the Pistons, that second quarter was horrific. The Pistons, I think they finished the first up 32-27. Then I don't think they scored a field goal for the first 6.5 minutes of the second quarter. They had like at one stage, they were 2 of 16 from the field, and they had 6 turnovers in the first 7 minutes of the second quarter. It was honestly probably one of the worst stretches of basketball I've seen. Every single player was making mistakes. Cade, Ivey, Duren, Fontecchio. Like, it was just a horrific stretch of basketball. But outside of that second quarter, I thought JD was excellent. He came, asserted his physical presence, took advantage of the matchups offensively, and grabbed a number of crucial boards. And I think it's worth, while we're talking about JD, as it mentions there on the right of your screen, the other Pistons bigs as well had excellent games in Isaiah Stewart and James Wiseman, who just continues to go from strength to strength since Taj Gibson got into the team. I'm going to hit on Stu first. 15 points, 2 boards, 3 blocks, 3 of 3 from deep, 5 of 6 from the field. Kind of left the rebounding tonight to Wise and Duren, but knocked down all his threes. The 3 blocks, he had a really nice blocking transition on Emmanuel quickly. And just a really solid game from Stu. Looked confident on his 3-point looks. His dribble drive game's still very mechanical. He got called for a charge on one. But, I think if the 3 ball's falling, that stuff's not as evident as a struggle because he's not as hesitant, and therefore teams are playing him on the 3-point line. So, and defensively, I thought he was really solid as well tonight at the 4. And then James Wiseman, 6 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks. It's the rebounding and rim protection that's really stood out to me in what is now his 4th really good game in a row. Because that's the effort stuff with Wise. The positioning, the just focus I think he's showing right now. It's really impressive. And, 6 points on 3 or 4 shooting is just a bonus. But I think he had a number of really nice blocks. But the rebounding for Wise has always been something that comes and goes, at least with the Pistons, and I'm pretty sure with the Warriors. But to see him now, I'm just going to check this because I want to be sure of it. But 10 rebounds tonight, 9 rebounds in the Hornets game, 12 against the Mavs, and then he only had the 3 against Brooklyn, but he only played like 12 minutes that game. So I think just off the top of my head, he's averaging, around 8 or 9 boards in the past 4 games in, limited minutes, like 20 minutes a night. So he's dunking it with authority. He's not messing around. And, I've paid his dues. I put out a separate video today for Wise. He's been excellent. So shout out to him for sure. And Stu, the Pistons win the rebounding battle 58-34, 58-37, I should say. And, they should have dominated the glass tonight with the team the Raptors had, and they did. And I think that was a pretty big factor in them winning, just with the second chance opportunities and that kind of thing. So moving on, another highlight of the night for me was Marcus Sasser regaining some form. It's been a little bit up and down for him since coming back from injury, but he had a really strong 4th quarter tonight. He finishes with 11 points, 5 boards, 3 assists. 4 of 12 from the field won't jump out to you, but in the last quarter, hit 2 huge threes and got to the rim for a layup. And one of those threes in particular, you would have seen it by now. It's on the Pistons Intellect page if you want to go check it out. But he did like this double crossover and finished with a step back and just had Abaji completely not lost, but he just creates so much space with that step back, and he drained that. And that was just around 4 minutes to go, 4.5 minutes to go, to put the Pistons up by like 10 to 13 points. And Cade was about to check in at this point. He hadn't played the entire 4th, I don't think. He was about to come back in around this point to help close the game out. But We actually found out in the post game that Cade actually made the decision to let Sasser stay in because he was kind of cooking, and which I thought was cool from Cade, of course, because he was actually. I'm going to talk about Cade in a second, but he was having a pretty solid game. He kept things going for the Pistons in the second quarter when they were horrible. He closed the second quarter really strong, but he had an opportunity tonight to have another one of those kind of 27, 20-point game nights, but he gave up his minutes unselfishly to the player who was probably hotter in the second half in Sasser, and definitely more informed in the moment. And I just thought that's a great sign of leadership to let Sasser, who's been struggling recently, close out that fourth quarter. Also credit to Monty for that as well, listening to his player in that instance. Because hopefully Sass can now build some confidence from that. Well, I think he's a high confidence guy on offense, more just, getting to a rhythm as opposed to building confidence. But yeah, as I mentioned, Cade kind of rested that entire fourth quarter. He only played 28 minutes tonight, which apart from that Magic game where the Pistons got blown out, would have to be the least minutes he's played since the All-Star break. 19 points, 6 assists, 3 turnovers, 8 of 20 from the field. Pretty rough. Kind of didn't have it. The Pistons in that third quarter, even though they ended up winning it 31-22, they looked a bit lackadaisical there for a little bit, and it felt like Cade's, I don't know, his jumper, he just wasn't getting as much lift, missed a couple at the rim, but he had 16 at the half, and he was money in the first half, and I believe if he had played in that fourth quarter, he's getting up to 25, 26 points, because that's just the kind of form he's in. I don't think he has 2 bad quarters in a row. Third quarter, he kind of couldn't get his shots to fall, but yeah, he's been brilliant. I don't really have a lot more to add. Just in the first quarter, some of those lob passes, he kind of just scoops up to JD are like so on point. And like last time I'll mention it, but wasn't the hardest to connect on a lob with Duren tonight because the Raptors didn't really have anyone that disrupt lobs in the pick and roll. But just watching Cade dish it up to JD is like a thing of beauty because they're just so in sync. And yeah, JD just gets so high off the ground and Cade just hits him in the perfect point to dunk it home. So I think where I'll round out this episode is just on Jaden Ivey's struggles. It's now been, if I just look at his numbers post All-Star break, been 11 games now. He's averaging just under 16 points a night, 4 assists, but his efficiency is really tanked. He's shooting like 38% from the field, 23% from the three-point line. And honestly, apart from that kind of 30-point game he had with Cade against the Nets, he's really struggled. Tonight, the turnovers, 5 turnovers to go with 14.7 assists. He's still giving effort. He's still giving effort on defense. He had a really nice chase down block, a couple of nice steals, but there are moments like the Raptors tonight, they exploited Jaden Ivey's weaknesses or areas he needs to improve upon over this offseason. And that is his off-ball defense, which was something from last season we spoke about. I didn't expect him to become an elite defender this season, but tonight he got exposed multiple times with his man cutting to the basket and Kelly Olynyk kind of finding that cutter. And Ivey got caught multiple times. Some of them ended in fouls. Some of them, the guy just streamed in for a layup. And he got exposed. Yeah, it felt like all those backdoor cuts. There's a couple where he's defending Grady Dick. It was tricky because Olynyk's playing out in the perimeter, so the Pistons don't really have Duren around the rim to kind of help cover for cutters. But at the same time, if you're Ivey, you've just got to be more aware of how the offense is playing and not get caught ball watching, because as soon as your man cuts backdoor, the Pistons didn't have much, weak side rim protection. So bit of a team thing, but also Ivey just got burned multiple times on those cuts, and it stood out to me. And if it's standing out to me, I'm assuming it stood out a heap to the coaches. So That was a frustrating one. Then on offense, they were trapping him and just sending two to the ball, kind of how like a lot of teams do to Cade, but Ivey just had some around the end of that fourth quarter. The Pistons were up double digits, but he tried to throw a cross-court pass to Sasser on the other side, and it's like this bounce pass that just didn't have any zip, and it kind of fumbled in Sasser's hands and rolled out of bounds. And when that happened, that ball bounced right in front of Monty where he was standing, and you saw him stare at Jaden and out of frustration. And you know what? As hard as Monty's been on Ivey, I'm with him because you can't throw passes like that across court that are just at your teammates' feet, hard to gather, kind of just sporadic passes. And then he had another turnover where I think it was Ramsey just stripped him and went down the other end, did a windmill dunk. Yeah, he had like three turnovers in that last quarter stretch where the Pistons were up by double digits for most of it, but some of those reps of Ivey on ball were really quite rough. So his handle is, I think it's gotten better, definitely. I think I've seen him go through stretches this season where his handling is been much better, but I think when he's getting trapped, he gets rushed. And yeah, sometimes I feel like in games like this where he's already kind of had a few things not go his way, maybe it gets into his head and he starts rushing even more, forcing things. So yeah, passing and ball handling have been an area for improvement for him, definitely, since he was a rookie. I think he's gotten a bit better at those, but tonight you saw when a team actually loads up on him when Cade's off the floor, Jaden's still got a little bit to go if he's going to be a lead guard when Cade's off the floor. So not the end of the world. I'm still extremely high on him. He's going through a rough stretch though, and it would be nice. What game are we at now? That was game 65. The Pistons got about 17 games left. It would be nice to see him put a 5 to 8 game stretch together where it's like, okay, cool. We're back to Jaden. It's not so much about the points, but if we're going to put some numbers out there, he's given you 18, let's say 19 to 21 points in this stretch, 5 assists, 4 or 5 rebounds, turnovers around 2.5 instead of 3.5, 4. And his efficiency's up because that's the main thing. That 3-point shot in particular it absolutely has to be high 30s, across his career to work alongside Cade. It's going to be really tough if his 3 ball is around 33, 34% or in the 20s like it is now recently. It's just going to be extremely tough for him and Cade to coexist offensively and be effective, and the Pistons actually win games. A lot of games. Like I'm talking when they're both on their rookie extensions, earning heaps of the cap, like Jaden can't be shooting the way he is. So I'm not concerned overly, but it has now been probably 10 to 12. It's probably a couple of games before the All-Star break, that Phoenix one, which was a bit of a write-off for the team, and the Lakers one where he struggled, plus the 11 since the All-Star break. So, yeah, he needs to put a good stretch together here soon, I think, not just for himself and his confidence, but just, to give us a really good sample size of what him and Cade look like. Like we've gotten that this season, but I think, I don't see him being traded this summer, but I think, we just want to see him and Cade playing good basketball at the end of the day, and so does the franchise. So let me know how you're feeling about Jaden. Yeah, I don't think anything's too negative because his play of late's been pretty poor. For me, it's just the kind of chaotic nature and the off-ball defense that has really stood out, and the lack of handle recently. I kind of believe in the shot, but I've seen him shoot the ball extremely well for stretches as a rookie and in this season. So I believe the shooting will come around like it has with Cade in year 3. So that's not an alarm bell for me. But yeah, let me know in the comments how you're feeling about Jaden's play of late and how you felt about tonight's game. Great to see wins. And actual final thing is just shout out to everyone. I reckon in the past few days I've had, whether it's a comment, a DM on any of the channels I have on Twitter, Instagram, I've had like 10 people reach out and say they're going to the game tonight. The atmosphere is awesome, or I'm going to this game, Jack, or someone messaged on Twitter today or commented, sorry, Twitter post saying I've been at the last 3 Pistons wins. So I actually even had one YouTube commenter on the community notes say, this win's like, I'm in the building for you tonight, Jack. So appreciate all the love in that respect. Shout out to those that message me. Yeah, as I say, I love hearing, even if it's just little stories like that, people at the games and that kind of thing. Because yeah, those are the insights I don't get watching it on TV. So shout out to anyone who's messaged me, and shout out to everyone that continues to go. I thought the crowd was awesome tonight. So until Friday night, my recap for that Heat game might be a little late. I'll see. But until that game and that recap, as always, go Pistons.